Iku, the energetic marketing manager, is known as the warrior goddess because of her outstanding professional skills and her likable personality. On her birthday, she finally gets a chance to set aside her busy work and enjoy some precious private time. Her boyfriend, Zaylin, promised to organize a birthday for her, making Iku really excited and looking forward to it. Before this, Iku had asked her best friend, Iran, to buy a suit for Zaylin as a gift. Even though Iran didn't really understand the meaning of this gift, she still supported her friend's decision. After her best friend reminded her, Ika carefully prepared and made a special trip to the mall to buy a new pair of high heels. After that, she happily went to the airport to pick up Zaylin. However, a little mishap happened at the airport. While talking on the phone, Iku accidentally dropped her lipstick. The lipstick was picked up by Guangxi, who had just gotten off the plane. He intended to return it to her, but his driver, who had come to pick him up, stopped him. Guangxi didn't want to keep his driver waiting, so he had to leave with the car. Unfortunately, Ika didn't meet her boyfriend as she had hoped. Zaylin used the excuse that his parents were visiting Beijing, so he missed his flight to Shanghai. He could only send birthday wishes to Iku over the phone. Iku was extremely disappointed, her voice choked with sadness. Not knowing what else to do, Ika hid in her car and quietly cried alone. After a while, she tried to regain her composure and drove to a convenience store to eat some noodles. At the convenience store, Ika coincidentally met Guangxi again. Recognizing her as the girl who dropped her lipstick at the airport, Guangxi was about to approach her to return it, but just then Iku received a phone call. From her conversation with her dad, Guangxi guessed that she might be having some relationship troubles. Ika lied and said she was having dinner with her boyfriend. Just then, Ika's phone died, and she had to borrow Guangxi's phone to call her dad back. Looking at the gentle girl in front of him, Guangxi smiled, feeling an indescribable emotion in his heart. Seeing that Iku seemed sad, Guangxi offered her the last can of Coke he had bought. Ika took out a small sample of perfume from her company to give back to him. Guangxi boldly asked for her phone number, but was politely refused. Guangxi had just returned from England and was currently living with his friend, Mu Senator at this moment. Mu Sun was on a video call with his girlfriend. He immediately introduced Guangxi and Iku to each other. Mu Sen's girlfriend, finding Guangxi handsome, enthusiastically wanted to set him up with her best friend. When Ika got home, she didn't want her parents to worry. She purposely put on heavy blush, pretending she had just been out drinking with Zaylin. However, her little act was immediately seen through by her family. Zaylin couldn't reach Iku, so he had to contact her parents. He also sent a bouquet of red roses to Iku's house as a birthday gift. Iku's father was very pleased with Zaylin, a wealthy and promising future son-in-law, so he didn't side with his daughter at all. He even scolded her for being ungrateful. Fortunately, her mother and her younger brother, Ibo, understood and sympathized with Iku's feelings. Knowing that his sister was allergic to pollen, Ibo quickly took the bouquet of roses and threw it outside. Although she didn't have her boyfriend by her side, Ika had a very warm and caring younger brother. Ibo secretly put his sister's favorite can of Coke in the mini fridge in her room and thoughtfully wrote a little note, slipping it under the door to let her know about the surprise gift. Holding the can of Coke, Iku's face finally relaxed into a small, relieved smile. The next morning, Iku rushed to the company to resolve an issue regarding the brand representative being pregnant. However, in the parking lot, she accidentally bumped into Mu Sen's car. Ika left her business card for him and arranged to contact him after work. Perhaps this was fate. When Guangxi arrived at the parking lot, he just happened to see Iku's back as she was leaving. Knowing that he would soon have another chance to meet her, Guangxi quickly took Iku's business card from Mu Senator. Looking at the business card in his hand, Guangxi smiled happily and became even more determined to stay in the country. Guangxi started working at Chunye's large animation company as a director and lead designer. Becoming a colleague of Mu Senator that evening, Mu Sen decided to propose to his girlfriend. However, he was brutally rejected, ending in embarrassment and shame. Iku, who had been invited to resolve the car accident from the morning, happened to witness the whole thing. And it was here that she once again met Guangxi. Mu Sun, heartbroken, kept bad-mouthing women, and Iku, who overheard it, couldn't help but feel indignant. She stepped up to challenge Mu Senator. As a result, Iku won, but because she drank too much beer, she got completely drunk. The next morning, she woke up in a panic to find herself in an unfamiliar hotel room, with clothes scattered all over. The scene before her made her incredibly flustered. Iku sneaked out of the hotel. When she went to the convenience store to buy some things, she accidentally bumped into Iran, and they Both felt awkward. Guangxi had sent a friend request to Iku on WeChat, but she still hadn't accepted it. However, the clever guy had found Iku's company address through her business card. Chunyi recorded a video of Iku drunk and even showed it to the employees at the company. Guangxi asked Chunyi to delete the video, but it wasn't easy because Chunyi required him to help him with some work. Wanting to protect Iku, Guangxi agreed to the request. Iku's current family is a remarried one. Aunt Lan, Iku's father's current wife, is actually Guangxi's biological mother. Aunt Lan told Iku that her son was about to return from abroad. The two women went to the supermarket together and bought a lot of food to prepare. Iku had no idea that her son was actually Guangxi. The whole family gathered for dinner. Everyone was happy except for Iku. Iku was worried that Guangxi would reveal the fact that she was drunk last night, so she kept putting food on his plate, hoping to keep him quiet. After dinner, Iku made an excuse to see Guangxi off so she could ask about what had happened last night. Guangxi playfully teased Iku with words that made her blush. Iku worried that something had happened between her and Guangxi that had crossed the line. Fortunately, it was only that she had lost control while drunk and nothing else had happened. The two walked and talked, laughing happily. This scene was accidentally seen by Zaylin. It turned out he had hurriedly flown from Beijing to Shanghai that night to make up for missing Iku's birthday. This time, Zaylin had prepared a whole trunk full of roses. Seeing that Iku was sneezing constantly, he didn't even realize that his girlfriend was allergic to pollen. He even smugly said that his secretary told him all girls liked roses. Iku silently slammed the trunk shut. Zaylin still hadn't had dinner. Iku didn't want him bothering her parents at home, so she had to go to a restaurant with him. Guangxi watched Iku's figure leave in Zaylin's car, feeling a nameless sadness in his heart. That evening, when Guangxi got home, he saw his mother cleaning his bedroom for him. Taking this opportunity, he asked his mother about Iku and Zaylin's relationship. He learned that they had been together for 4 years, and although it was a long-distance relationship with few opportunities to meet, their feelings were still quite stable. Zaylin was also well-liked by Iku's family. They were planning to get married this year. Hearing this news, Guangxi felt even more dejected. After his mother left the room, he closed the door, leaned against it, and unconsciously whispered, "Older sister." He remembered his mother's instructions that from now on at home, he couldn't call Iku by her name anymore, but had to call her older sister. Zaylin was a very patriarchal man. When he was with Iku, he never cared about her feelings. When they went out to eat, he only ordered the dishes he liked, completely ignoring Iku's preferences. He was only focused on celebrating his victory in the lawsuit and ordered 2 portions of the raw seafood combo. Because of work, Zaylin would have to stay in Shanghai for a while. He planned to take Iku to attend the opening ceremony of a new store for an important client. Zaylin bluntly demanded that Iku dress up elegantly, not be as casual as she usually is. Iku wasn't happy, but she didn't say anything. At the company, Iku was deliberately made difficult by her superiors. The promotional gifts still had the information of Li, the old spokesperson, printed on them. Fortunately, Iku discovered this error in time. She rushed to find her superiors to ask for a signature to request the printing company to correct it, but was flatly refused. Iku had to pay for the reprinting of the gifts out of her own pocket. At this moment, Zaylin called, saying that he had an appointment with friends at 7 p.m. and wanted Iku to come along. Iku explained that she had to work overtime, but Zaylin was sarcastic and showed his displeasure. In the evening, Iku coincidentally met Guangxi and Mu Sun in the company lobby. Knowing that Iku had to work overtime, Guangxi, who had plans to go out with friends, decided to stay and help her. Guangxi arrived at the front of Iku's company and saw her listening to music, drinking alcohol, and swaying to the beat. Guangxi didn't expect that working overtime could be so enjoyable. For Iku, this was probably a moment where time seemed to stand still, but Guangxi was completely captivated by her cuteness. Guangxi made up the reason that he didn't like noisy places like bars and only wanted to find a quiet place to sip on his drink. In reality, he just wanted to find an excuse to be near Iku. The two quickly finished packing the gifts. Just then, Shun Exine, Iku's subordinate, also arrived at the company. Iku quickly hid Guangxi under the table and left the company with Shun Exine. After seeing Shun Exine off, Iku quickly returned to the company. Guangxi stood upstairs, smiling as he watched her hurried figure. Guangxi playfully teased Iku by pretending to faint. Iku discovered the prank and chased after him. These were moments of joy and comfort that Iku had never experienced while with Zaylin. Guangxi took Iku home. To thank him, Iko promised to treat him to a meal. Guangxi seized the opportunity to ask her out for a meal the next day, and also suggested that they leave work together from now on. As soon as she got home, Iku received a call from Zaylin. He was drunk and kept blaming Iku for standing him up, making him lose face in front of his friends. Iku could only endure it in silence. In this relationship, it seemed that she was always the one being abandoned and neglected. In contrast to Zaylin, Guangxi was dedicated and thoughtful. To help Iku work overtime, he put aside his own work. Late into the night, he was still diligently editing his designs to be able to deliver them to the client the next day. Director Zheng found out about Iku having to pay for the promotional gifts out of her own pocket, so she went to see Director Gu to sort things out. She clearly understood Director Gu's backstabbing nature, but with her extensive experience, she wasn't afraid at all and forced him to sign the payment request for Iku's expenses. After work, Iku and Guangxi were getting ready to go out to eat when they happened to run into Zaylin. Zaylin wanted to celebrate his victory in the lawsuit, so he invited Iku to dinner. Because she already had plans with Guangxi, but Iku also didn't want to refuse Zaylin. Guangxi, seeing the awkward situation, quickly suggested that all three of them go out to eat. Zaylin couldn't refuse, so he had to agree. During the meal, Guangxi intentionally ordered all the expensive dishes, wanting to teach Zaylin a lesson. Zaylin was uncomfortable, but he didn't dare to show it in front of Iku. Through this meal, Guangxi became even more certain that Zaylin didn't truly love Iku. Once again, Zaylin suggested that Iku quit her job and move to Beijing to live with him. This statement inadvertently reached Guangxi's ears. Looking at Iku's reaction, Guangxi knew that wasn't what she wanted. Iku attended the one-month celebration party for her assistant's baby, who had married into a wealthy family. However, she was surprised to discover that her assistant's married life was not as happy as it seemed. There were suspicious scars on her arm. At the end of the party, Iku also caught the assistant's husband intimately embracing another woman. She quietly took pictures but hesitated, not knowing whether to tell her assistant. Iku called Zaylin to ask for his opinion. Unexpectedly, he casually said that all men were like that and advised her not to meddle in other people's business. This statement both surprised and saddened Iku. Guangxi patiently waited for Iku at the intersection. Suddenly, he saw Iku about to eat instant noodles at a convenience store, so he quickly went up to stop her and then kindly took her to eat Japanese food. During the meal, Guangxi was very considerate in taking care of Iku. Seeing her hesitate when ordering, he quietly ordered the two dishes she liked and even decided to give up his own favorite eel rice bowl. The two ate and chatted happily, comfortably. It seemed that Iku's mood was much better, completely different from when she was with Zaylin. After the late-night meal, Guangxi gallantly took Iku home, seeing the bright smile on her face. Guangxi also felt extremely satisfied. The next day, Zaylin suddenly came to Iku's house, wanting to take her to a movie and specifically reminding her to dress nicely. Zaylin also brought gifts for Iku's family, but ridiculously, the shoes he gave to Ibo were too big, much wider than his feet. At the movie theater, Zaylin had prepared a grand proposal for Iku, even inviting colleagues to cheer them on. Iku watched Zaylin, holding a bouquet of roses, walk step by step toward her. She kept sneezing because of her pollen allergy, but Zaylin didn't pay any attention to it. Looking at Zaylin kneeling in front of her, holding a proposal ring, Iku suddenly hesitated. Although they had been in love for 1,314 days, Zaylin had never truly cared about her. He didn't even know she was allergic to pollen. Immediately, Iku rejected Zaylin's proposal. She returned the bouquet of roses and turned to run away. However, she didn't go home, but went to Iran's house to confide in her. At Iran's house, Iku recounted Zaylin's proposal. Ran understood her friend's confused state of mind. She also knew that the relationship between Iku and Zaylin was nearing its end. That night, Iku tossed and turned, unable to sleep. The heart-wrenching pain made her decide to delete all her chat history with Zaylin. Meanwhile, Guangxi had no idea that Iku had been picked up by Zaylin early in the morning. He was still patiently waiting for her at home. When it was late at night, and Iku still hadn't shown up, he left his house and stood outside waiting. Guangxi was a little disappointed. He kept walking and looking back, hoping to see Iku. But every time he turned his head, there was only the silent night. As for Zaylin, he was also reminiscing about their 4 years of relationship. Zaylin suddenly realized that he had been too inconsiderate towards Iku during that time, and that she was always the one who was accommodating and indulging him. He still wanted to salvage this relationship, so he decided to postpone his flight back to Beijing. The next morning, Iran took Iku to the company. They coincidentally met Chinyi again, the person Iran had almost had a car accident with before. The two were like destined rivals. Iran still disliked Chun Ye's serious expression, while Chinyi always greeted her with a smile. At the same time, Guangxi and Mu Sun went to a coffee shop to buy coffee. Here, they coincidentally met Iku's rival at the company. Mu Sun was immediately smitten with the girl and took the initiative to introduce himself. Guangxi, standing beside him, also joined in. However, the girl didn't seem interested in Mu Sun at all, but looked at Guangxi with a different kind of gaze. Knowing that Guangxi and Iku were siblings, after Guangxi left, she began to question Mu Sun about their relationship. That evening, Iku was assigned by Director Zheng to meet with a client representative to discuss the details of the work. However, she was stopped by Zhe Lin. He didn't maintain any politeness and held on to Iku, insisting on talking things out with her. This scene coincidentally caught Guangxi's eye. Zhe Lin only cared about himself and completely ignored Iku's feelings. Even though he knew she had important work to do, he still stubbornly caused trouble. Fortunately, Guangxi arrived in time. Only then did Zhe Lin finally let go of Iku. Because of Zhe Lin's struggle, Iku's phone had been dropped and broken, so she had to ask Guangxi to call a taxi for her. After calling a taxi for Iku, Guangxi secretly followed her by motorcycle all the way to the hotel. There, he bought a new phone for Iku and even thoughtfully chose a cute phone case. After that, Guangxi quietly sat nearby, attentively watching Iku work. Her professionalism and focus captivated him. Guangxi used his artistic talent to draw a caricature of Iku and saved it on the new phone. Guangxi patiently waited until Iku finished her work, then personally brought the phone to her. Without Guangxi, Iku probably wouldn't have been able to get home. To express her gratitude, Iku offered to repay him another time. But Guangxi wasn't about to miss any opportunity to be with her. He pretended to be hungry so that Iku would invite him to eat. So, the two went to a roadside barbecue restaurant together. While eating, Iku revealed that she had broken up with Zhe Lin. Hearing this news, Guangxi was secretly happy, and his face showed his joy. Then he told Iku to open her photo album in her phone and choose a picture to be her wallpaper. Iku saw the caricature that Guangxi had drawn for her, and her heart was filled with joy. Guangxi used to work as a tutor abroad. His student, Xiao Mian, because her studies were too poor, decided to return to the country. Ironically, after returning home, she went straight to Guangxi's house. This made Guangxi and Mu Sun very embarrassed. How could two guys live with a girl? Guangxi wanted to gently advise her to move out on her own, but Xiao Mian played the spoiled brat, trying to win over Mu's senator reluctantly. Guangxi had to let her stay in their house for 7 days. The next day, Iku went to the film set to work, collaborating with the famous actor Zicheng. In the dressing room, she accidentally encountered Zicheng. Meeting with his girlfriend, Iku knew that if Zicheng's relationship was exposed, it would definitely have a big impact on the brand. So, she decided to help him hide it, even giving her employee card to Zicheng's girlfriend so she could pretend to be a crew member, hiding in a prop box. Unfortunately, they were surrounded by reporters. The reporters quickly concluded that there was an ambiguous relationship between Iku and Zicheng. The photos taken quickly spread online. This made Director Kong, who always had bad intentions, happily seize the opportunity to harm Iku. Fortunately, their boss, Frank, sided with Iku and her director. He believed this was a good opportunity to create publicity for the upcoming product marketing campaign. Iku also contacted Zicheng's team to work together to clarify the matter. Guangxi saw the news online, and the malicious comments from Zicheng's fans targeting Iku made him extremely worried. Downstairs at Iku's company, it was now packed with reporters. In this urgent situation, Iku had to ask for help from her best friend, Iran. The two worked together to execute an escape plan. They put on sunglasses and hats, then split up and ran in 2 different directions. As expected, the reporters were misled. They mistook Iran for Iku and chased after her. While running away, Iran coincidentally met Chinyi. For some reason, Chinyi also started running after her. In the end, the two had to hide in a dumpster to escape the reporters. Chinyi had probably fallen head over heels for Iran at first sight. He was even dazed while watching her wash her face. Iku coincidentally met Zhe Lin in the parking lot. He questioned her about her relationship with Zicheng. Zhe Lin was always like that. Whenever something happened, he only knew how to blame Iku and didn't care about her feelings at all. The two argued, and Iko bluntly suggested breaking up, which greatly surprised Zaylin. Just then, the reporters swarmed in. Fortunately, Guangxi arrived in time and pulled Iko away, helping her escape. Unlike Zaylin, Guangxi completely trusted Iko. He gently comforted her, saying that he believed Iko had a good reason for doing what she did, and that she must have been trying to help someone else. Because she was worried that reporters would find her home and bother her family, Iko didn't dare go home. Guangxi drove her all the way to the beach. On the car, Iko fell asleep, exhausted. When she woke up, she just caught the sight of a beautiful sunrise. The two stood together by the sea, facing the rising sun, and quietly made a wish. Zaylin sent a lawyer's letter to Iko's company, demanding that they give him a satisfactory explanation. He also intentionally made a big deal out of it, saying that the company was not fulfilling its responsibilities, making everyone aware and affecting Iko's reputation. Employees in the company started whispering and gossiping behind her back. Boss Frank was very angry. Fortunately, Director Zheng understood Iko well. She knew that this wasn't her fault. At this time, Xianjia seized the opportunity to add fuel to the fire, creating more trouble for the company. To protect Iko, Director Zheng transferred her to the livestream department. This was also a sales channel that the company planned to focus on developing in the future. This transfer was also seen as letting Iko go there to break new ground and lay the first foundation stones. Iko decided to meet with Zaylin directly to ask him to withdraw the lawyer's letter. However, the two got into an argument. Iko once again firmly suggested breaking up. Zaylin maintained his arrogant attitude, refusing to give in even a little bit. Looking at Zaylin's attitude, Iko knew that their 4-year relationship had truly come to an end. Ibo helped Aunt Lon bring the salted duck eggs to Guangxi. Seeing women's clothing in front of his door, Ibo immediately misunderstood that he was living with a girlfriend. Curious to hear the gossip, Ibo knocked on the door. Unexpectedly, as soon as he opened the door, Xiao Mian rushed forward and hugged him tightly. They were both stunned. In the midst of the confusion, Xiao Mian accidentally kicked Ibo in a sensitive area, causing him so much pain that he dropped to his knees, and the bag of salted duck eggs in his hand shattered. Ibo learned from Xiao Mian that she was the one who had leaked the rumor about Zi Cheng's supposed girlfriend. Thinking that Guangxi was the one pulling the strings, Ibo angrily went to find him to confront him. Guangxi quickly brought the two sisters, Iku, home to clarify everything. After hearing Xiao Mian's explanation, Iku realized that Xianjia was the one who was behind the manipulation, spreading her news. Xiao Man, an employee under Xianjia, had used underhanded tactics to climb into Iku's position. At a coffee shop, Guangxi and Mu Sun happened to meet Xiao Man. From her, they learned that Iku had been transferred out of the marketing department. Hearing this, Guangxi immediately rushed off to find Iku. Iku had been transferred to the livestream department with the task of developing it. Her new workplace looked like nothing more than a messy warehouse. There wasn't even space to put your feet, let alone a desk. She could only start cleaning up. Luckily, Guangxi arrived in time to help. Once the cleaning was done, it was time to leave work. Outside, it was raining cats and dogs. Guangxi rushed to the supermarket to buy an umbrella, but he intentionally only bought one. He wanted to share the umbrella, getting closer to Iku. Under the same umbrella, they walked and laughed together happily. This was a natural, comfortable moment that Iku rarely experienced when she was with Zaylin. By the time they got home, the rain had stopped. Guangxi gave the umbrella to Iku. She carefully kept this small gift, her heart filled with sweet memories of the time she spent with Guangxi. This was a simple joy that she had never felt when she was with Zaylin. Xiao Mian knew she had done wrong, so she proactively did a live stream admitting her mistakes. However, the screen was full of insults, harsh and impolite language. Ibo, watching the live stream, worried that Xiao Mian would do something foolish because of the keyboard warriors. So he quickly found the internet cafe she was at and immediately went to find her, and even took her out for a late-night snack. In the end, the two became friends. That evening, Ibo and Xiao Mian went to Guangxi's place, and the four of them, along with Mu Sun, continued eating and drinking. Finally, the misunderstandings were resolved, and everyone's feelings for each other deepened. As for Iku, she was transferred to the livestream department. Originally thinking she would have to fight alone, unexpectedly, the employees who were close to her all requested to transfer to the livestream department as well. The squad was back together. Everyone was very happy, and Iku was deeply touched. The next day, while waiting for the elevator to go to work, Iran was secretly commented on by two men. Luckily, Chun Yi and his colleagues appeared in time and used sarcastic words to counter those two men. Iran saw that Chun Yi had helped her out of the situation, and her attitude towards him changed a bit. In the elevator, Chun Yi wanted to get Iran's WeChat, but due to the poor signal, they couldn't connect after scanning the QR code. And unfortunately, Iran had already gotten off the elevator. Meanwhile, Meng Tian, Iku's employee, wanted to quit her job. Becoming a full-time housewife for a wealthy family was her choice, and Iku had no right to interfere, but she could see that Meng Tian wasn't happy. Before they could even finish talking about her quitting, Meng Tian was called home by her mother-in-law to take care of the kids. After leaving the bakery, Iku saw Meng Tian's husband with his mistress. Remembering that Meng Tian had just called him and he hadn't answered, Iku felt a bit angry. Immediately, she decided to follow them to see what was going on. Guangxi saw that Iku seemed a bit worried, so he followed her. Iku went in and confirmed that this was indeed Meng Tian's husband, so she quickly came up with a plan. She pretended to be someone who had been cheated on and went to the employees to get the keys to Meng Tian's husband's car. She intentionally left some women's items in his car, but almost got caught. Thankfully, Guangxi helped her out of the situation. After that, the two even hid somewhere to watch the drama unfold. As expected, the scumbag got what he deserved. His mistress angrily slapped him twice, then left without looking back. Iku didn't expect that Guangxi had seen everything she just did. She hoped he would keep it a secret, that this would be a small secret just between the two of them. That evening, Guangxi took Iku to his secret base, which was an abandoned carousel. When they were little, they used to come here to play. Guangxi had a lot of graffiti drawings here. Iku didn't tell her dad about breaking up with Zaylin. Her dad even planned to buy an apartment in Shanghai for the two of them. But Iku used the excuse of working overtime and being tired to go back to her bedroom. Only women understand women. So Aunt Lan noticed that something was off with Iku and used the excuse of bringing her milk to ask how she was doing. Iku told Aunt Lan the truth, and Aunt Lan said that she would always support all of Iku's decisions. During the time she spent with Guangxi, Iku wasn't without feelings. She also sensed that Guangxi might not just see her as a sister. So she took the opportunity to ask Aunt Lan what kind of girl she hoped Guangxi would find as a girlfriend. Aunt Lan immediately said that she hoped the two people could be a good match and be able to talk to each other. Iku thought about it, and then she decided that she should keep her distance from Guangxi. That night, Iku saw a WeChat message from Guangxi. After hesitating, she decided not to reply. Guangxi stared at his phone, disappointed that Iku hadn't replied. The next day, the two met in the elevator. This time, Iku was much colder towards Guangxi. Guangxi, not knowing what had happened, messaged Iku while at work, but she still didn't reply. Guangxi learned a tactic called taking the initiative from Mu's senator that evening. He made a special trip to Iku's house to have dinner with her family. Iku constantly emphasized their brother-sister relationship, intentionally creating distance between them. The more Guangxi thought about it, the less he understood, not knowing why Iku had suddenly changed like that. The day after that, Iku went to work. Guangxi, as the younger brother, brought coffee for everyone, and he even wrote on Iku's coffee cup, "Green care, no burden from your younger brother." Iku saw this sentence, and her face relaxed into a smile. That evening, Mu's son invited Jiang Man to go out with him. Jiang Man was always paying attention to Guangxi, and this time, she even brought some colleagues so they would stick to Mu's son, giving her a chance to be alone with Guangxi. In the car, Iku saw Jiang Man wiping sweat off Guangxi and suddenly felt very angry. Iku and Iran went to have dinner together, and seeing the pictures Jiang Man posted on her social media, where she and Guangxi were taking pictures together happily, made Iku even angrier. She then asked the expert in love, Iran, for advice. Based on what Iku described about the guy, Iran concluded that he was a scumbag. Iku believed her and decided to punish Guangxi, intentionally not replying to his messages, causing the younger brother to wait near Iku's house. In the end, the two just passed each other with regret. The more she thought about it, the angrier Iku got, so she messaged Guangxi, mentioning scumbag. Guangxi was even more confused. Afterwards, he learned from Mu's son that Iku had come looking for him last night, and he was overjoyed, running like the wind to find his sister. Iku was about to throw away the umbrella that Guangxi had once given her, but thankfully, Guangxi appeared just in time to stop her. Guangxi finally understood the reason for Iku's sulking and took the initiative to explain to her about Jiang Man, that he was only helping Musan out. The two resolved the misunderstanding and went to see a movie and have dinner together, returning to their happy state as before. Iku overheard Jiang Man bragging to her colleagues that Mu Sun and the others had invited her to dinner, and just as she saw a message from Guangxi, she decisively turned down his invitation. Thinking about Jiang Man's smug look, Iku felt uncomfortable and couldn't focus on work, so she took the initiative to bring her employees to join Guangxi and the others' party. At the party, everyone kept teasing Guangxi, wanting to hear who the girl he liked was. Jiang Man seized the opportunity, knowing that Guangxi and the other person hadn't confirmed their relationship yet, thinking she still had a chance. Seeing this, Iku grabbed Guangxi's hand under the table, which completely surprised Guangxi. Just when Iku was about to pull her hand back, he grabbed it back, and the two were both embarrassed and happy. Chunyi learned from Mu's son that Iran was a bar queen, and you could find her by looking for whatever bar was having a promotion. Sure enough, Chunyi found Iran at a bar. The two started drinking. Iran didn't expect that Chunyi, who always valued his health, would stay up late drinking for her sake. The last time Chunyi couldn't get Iran's WeChat. This time, he took the initiative to go to the bar to find her precisely because he wanted to connect with her on WeChat. He passed Iran's test and successfully got her WeChat. Just when Iran was starting to have feelings for him, he suddenly left. Chunyi received a phone call. His son wasn't feeling well, so he rushed home. Due to the emergency, he could only explain the reason for his sudden departure to Iran via WeChat. Iran didn't expect that she would be abandoned by Chunyi twice, and the bit of affection that had just sprouted turned into anger. Iran and Iku went to eat together, both angry about their own situations, but neither of them talked about it. The two best friends even had the same way of handling the situation. No matter how Chunyi and Guangxi messaged, they didn't reply and even deleted the chats. Ibo, that evening at home, secretly did a live stream talking about trendy shoes, making him somewhat of an online personality. After the hand-holding incident, the atmosphere between Iku and Guangxi was a bit subtle. Iku both looked forward to seeing Guangxi and felt shy. In the end, it was thanks to Guangxi taking the initiative to ask for a ride home that he got into Iku's car. After the whole family had dinner together, Guangxi invited Ibo to play basketball. Iku then quietly stood by the side watching him. Guangxi, seeing Iku's figure, played even harder. A little while later, Guangxi made an excuse to buy drinks and went to find Iku, finishing her lemon drink. Iku no longer saw Guangxi as her younger brother, and she started to feel shy. The two had a bit of an unspoken understanding. Guangxi, seeing Iku blushing, had a sweet smile on his face. Xiao Mian saw the job listing for live stream positions at Iku's company, so she wanted to ask Ibo to recommend her. Coincidentally, she saw Ibo doing a live stream at a fashion store. Ibo, wanting Xiao Mian to keep his secret, had to agree. As for Iku, she didn't like going through the back door. However, seeing that Xiao Mian had no other choice, she felt a bit sympathetic and decided to give her a chance. Of course, the specifics still depended on Xiao Mian's performance during the interview. Among those who came to the interview this time was Yuru, Meng Tian's husband's mistress. This girl was indeed very capable. Right after the interview, she frankly told Iku that she had seen Iku in the parking lot that day and thanked her for helping her see the true colors of that scumbag. Yuru was also very understanding, and if Iku didn't choose her, because of Meng Tian, she would totally understand. Moving on to Guangxi, he caught a cold from playing basketball in the evening. He messaged Ibo, who told Aunt Lan about it. Ika happened to overhear. She was worried and decided to go visit Guangxi with Aunt Lan. In reality, Guangxi was only pretending to be sick. He wanted to see Iku worrying about him. Iku was indeed very worried about Guangxi, but because she was a bit shy, she only pretended to call someone else and waited downstairs instead of going inside. Aunt Lan then told Guangxi about Iku's heartbreak, hoping to help her quickly move on. Hearing this, Guangxi plotted with his mother, telling her to use the methods of the elders and introduce a match for Iku. The mature man that Aunt Lan chose clearly wasn't a good fit for Iku. Aunt Lan then tricked Iku into going to a Western restaurant, saying she wanted to have dinner with her. But the person Iku met was a strange man. Right on cue, Aunt Lan messaged Iku, intentionally saying that this was the person Guangxi helped pick, which made Iku extremely angry. After the blind date, Iku went to Guangxi's house. She told him directly that she didn't need him interfering in her business. Unexpectedly, Guangxi pulled Iku into his arms, saying that he didn't want to be her younger brother anymore. The two hugged each other happily. That evening, Musin wasn't home, so Guangxi invited Iku to stay and hang out. Unfortunately, Aunt Lan came to visit Guangxi. Iku quickly hid in the closet, Inside the closet, she overheard the conversation between Guangxi and his mother. Aunt Lan was very fond of Ike. She knew she was strong, but it was precisely because she was too strong that Aunt Lan worried about her. Hearing Aunt Lan's words, Ike's eyes turned red. After Aunt Lan left, Ike still hid in the closet and wouldn't come out. Guangxi then seized this opportunity to sit in the closet with her, confessing his feelings and hoping he could be with her in the future. When Ike left, she hugged Guangxi tightly. The two officially confirmed their romantic relationship. That night, as soon as they got home, Ike and Guangxi video called each other. Indeed, people in love feel like a long time has passed, even when they've only been apart for a little while. The two video called while lying in bed, and Ike was probably experiencing this sweet happiness for the first time. Having left behind the wrong path, she had finally found the person who was right for her. As for Iran, wanting to get revenge on Chunyi, she made a special bottle of pigeon poop-scented perfume and gave it to him. However, Mu's son, Guangxi, and the others tried the scent first. And so, a strange smell enveloped the entire company. Since confirming their relationship, Ike and Guangxi entered a passionate love mode. The next morning, Guangxi even went to Ike's door to take her to work. Ike had already driven off, but when she heard that Guangxi had come to pick her up, she quickly reversed her car back into the parking spot and ran out of the car, pretending like she had just come out of her house. Of course, Guangxi saw all of this. He was truly captivated by Ike's cuteness. When in love, Ike changed a lot. She was more cheerful and lively, and she was no longer as strict as before with plans and products. The company employees secretly discussed, saying she must have had something good happen to her. Chunyi opened the bottle of perfume that Iran gave him and realized that she had blocked him on WeChat. He then took the initiative to go find Iran. Unexpectedly, not only did he not apologize, but he also lectured Iran. Before he could even finish speaking, he received a phone call from the kindergarten teacher, saying that his son had gotten into a fight at school. Rushing to the school, he once again left Iran behind. This time, Iran was truly furious. She decided that next time they met, she would definitely teach him a lesson. Chunyi fought at school because his classmates made fun of him for not having a mother. Chunyi didn't scold his son for this. In his educational philosophy, teaching disrespectful children a lesson every now and then was something that should be done. Knowing that his son didn't suffer a loss, he even felt happy. Xiao Mian successfully got a job at Ike's company. Ike hoped that she could fully utilize her abilities in the live stream area. Xiao Mian was overjoyed and hugged Yibo tightly. Yibo was a little dazed seeing Xiao Mian so happy. After work, Ike originally planned to go for a drink with Guangxi, but Chunyi asked her to work overtime. Understanding, Ike decided to go to Guangxi's company to work overtime with him instead. Unexpectedly, Mu's son, having been stood up by Qin Man, arrived at the company drunk. Soon after, Ike also arrived. The familiar scene repeated itself. Guangxi took Mu's son downstairs, taking the opportunity to lock Ike in the company. When he returned, he was startled by Ike wearing a mask to scare him. Ike overheard the previous conversation between Mu's son and Guangxi, and found out that Guangxi had been hurt by a girl named Jiangjun. When Jiangjun got married, Guangxi cried for 3 days and 3 nights. Ike then decided to invite Mu's son to dinner to ask more about this. Guangxi hurriedly explained that he and Jiangjun were nothing, and as for crying for 3 days and 3 nights, well, it was about feelings. They had to be that intense to be worthy of the other person and not be a waste of his own time. The two worked overtime together and had a great time. Perhaps being with the one you love makes even the most difficult overtime feel sweet. Soon, Ike had to go on a business trip to meet clients. Guangxi was already worried, but seeing her going with Xian made him even more uneasy. On the way, Ike also felt very uncomfortable. Hearing Xian call director Su to arrange a banquet, she felt even more disgusted. Guangxi also wasn't successful with his client presentation. Although the client was very satisfied with his proposal, they wanted to buy it out. This made Guangxi extremely uncomfortable. A buyout meant he would be excluded from the project. After finishing his presentation, Guangxi left immediately. He was worried about Ike and decided to go find her. Chunyi was a boss who knew how to protect his employees. Even though the company wasn't doing well, he didn't ignore the opinions of his employees. He believed that a boss should be responsible, and even if a collaboration didn't succeed, they shouldn't hurt their employees. Xianjia took Ike to the banquet with the intention of using her beauty to reach his KPI. But Ike wasn't someone who was easily bullied. Guangxi disguised as a waiter, intentionally spilled wine on Director Sue to help Iku out. However, Director Sue continued to make unwanted advances and forced her to finish a bottle of white wine. Iku then threw wine in Director Sue's face and left. Xianjia chased after her, blaming Iku for not being able to see the bigger picture. Iku ignored him. Guangxi waited for Iku outside the hotel. As soon as they met, they hugged each other and confessed their love. Iran coincidentally met Chenyi in the elevator again. These two were truly rivals. Whenever they met, they would have a verbal fight, and in the end, they would both get annoyed. Iku's offense against Director Sue caused him to decide to cancel the contract with the company. Frank was very angry. Although Iku had prepared a backup plan, Frank only cared about the results. Guangxi brought a lunchbox and gifts for Iku. He met Iran, who told him about Iku being scolded. After hearing this, Guangxi gave the lunch to Iran and quickly left. Iran saw the seashell bracelet on Guangxi's wrist, and her eyes flashed with understanding. Iku, seeing the seashell bracelet that Guangxi gave her, immediately put it on her wrist. This gift was like a small consolation on her terrible day. Chenyi was facing a difficult problem. Scolding the client felt good at the time, but afterwards, he still had to humble himself and suck up to them. Chenyi went to Director Xie's company, bowing his head and asking him to reconsider their proposal. Guangxi ran over and saw this pitiful scene, and he felt a bit heartbroken. He knew that his actions earlier weren't right, and he also understood that Chenyi must be in a very difficult position. So he decided to show Director Xie the abilities of his team by completing the character and background designs first, and then presenting more specific content. Director Xie agreed. Guangxi knew that the next phase of the project required a significant amount of funds. He proactively offered not to receive his own pay, but insisted that everyone else still get paid. Chunye's son, Chenyu, was very understanding. He knew that his father was in trouble, so when he heard Chenyi say he wanted to borrow his savings, he didn't hesitate at all and gave all of it to his dad. Iku and Guangxi were still keeping their relationship a secret. Every time Iku wanted to go out to eat with Guangxi, she would make the excuse of working overtime. Coincidentally, that day, her dad came to pick her up at the company door, but he found that the company had been locked up for a long time. Iku knew her dad was at the company door, so she had to deal with him first. Guangxi understood her situation. Iku went to buy some food and brought it back to the company for her dad. This time, her dad came to push her to get married. He really liked her ex, Zaylin, but Iku was busy with work every day, and neglecting her relationship with Zaylin like that was definitely not acceptable. Guangxi put on the suit that Iku gave him and video called her. The clothes were very nice and fit perfectly. While the two were talking, Ibo brought milk for his sister, which startled Iku. Yuru and Xiao Mian both joined Iku's department. The initial livestream data was quite far from their KPI, but Yuru's livestream performance far exceeded Xiao Mian's. Looking at the performance comparison chart, Xiao Mian felt a bit discouraged, but this was only the beginning. Moreover, her livestream viewership wasn't small. As long as there were viewers, there would be opportunities to convert them into purchases. For her second livestream, Xiao Mian, not wanting to be surpassed by Yuru, decided to place orders herself during the livestream. Although her data exceeded Yuru's, the balance in her bank account wasn't very promising. Xiao Mian had no other choice but to ask Ibo for help, but Ibo couldn't let his family know that he was doing live streams, so he refused her outright. Guangxi also saw a glimmer of hope. They had won Director Xie's project thanks to their outstanding abilities. With the skies clear, Chenyi, wanting to celebrate the successful collaboration, decided to treat everyone. After discussing, everyone chose to go camping. Guangxi planned to take this opportunity to bring Iku along. He even rented a special RV. Iku, after receiving the invitation, felt a bit tense and even worried that the pace of their relationship was progressing a bit too fast. But she didn't want to refuse, so she hurriedly took care of her skin and exercised at home, trying to be in the best condition to spend the night with Guangxi. Xiao Mian saw that Iku had changed a lot recently and smelled a bit of romance. She realized that Iku probably had a new boyfriend, so she went to find Ibo again. If Ibo agreed to teach her, she would tell him Iku's secret. Ibo still didn't know about his sister breaking up with Zaylin. He didn't believe that his sister would be too timing, so he made a bet with Xiao Mian. If his sister really had a new boyfriend, he would become Xiao Mian's free livestream assistant. Iku asked Iran to go camping with her. Iran had already figured out that she and Guangxi were in love. She didn't want to be a third wheel and also didn't want to see Chenyi. But after thinking about it, she felt that some things couldn't be avoided and she had to face them. so she changed her mind and decided to go camping with Iku. Iran saw the sweet scene of Guangxi and Iku at the mall, and a smile appeared on her face. Seeing Iku so happy, having escaped the shadow of heartbreak as a friend, she was very happy. Ibo noticed Iku's unusual behavior. The company clearly wasn't organizing a team activity, but she lied about going to a group activity that required her to stay overnight. What's more, she even bought a lace nightgown, which was completely not her style. Ibo, worried, had to go find Guangxi to ask him about the situation. Ibo told Guangxi all of his sister's unusual behaviors. Recently, such as putting on face masks and exercising. Guangxi was very happy. It turned out that Iku had been secretly working so hard. Fortunately, their relationship hadn't been discovered by the family. More importantly, Ibo mentioned that his sister had prepared a lace nightgown. Guangxi immediately blushed, but Iku, still not comfortable wearing revealing clothes, brought her usual pajamas. This camping trip not only made the feelings between Iku and Guangxi more intense, but also harmonized the relationship between Chunyi and Iran. Iku and Iran had a great time, and Chunyi also saw the relationship between Iku and Guangxi. He promised Iran that he would keep their secret for them. Guangxi led Iku to the RV he had rented. There was an indescribable atmosphere between the two. Being alone together for the first time, they were a bit shy and nervous. Iku took a shower first. She slightly regretted not bringing the new lace nightgown she had bought. Guangxi saw Iku come out of the bathroom, not wearing the nightgown that Ibo mentioned, and knew that his sister was still shy. He was planning to shower and go to sleep, but unexpectedly, Musun appeared out of nowhere. He was drunk and yelling all over the place and almost got into a fight with someone else. Thankfully, Guangxi arrived in time to take him to the RV. Musun's romantic path was always bumpy. The girl he had just met turned out to be married. He had no other choice but to call Guangxi everywhere and wanted him to be a single guy with him. But Guangxi already had a girlfriend. After taking care of Musun, Guangxi returned to the RV to find Iku. For him, this was a very important night. The relationship between Chunyi and Iran could have taken another step forward. The two, drunk, hugged and kissed, and it seemed like they were going to have a sweet night. Unexpectedly, a phone call broke the happy moment. Chunyi called Chunyi, and Chunyi immediately pushed Iran away and left. Iran was stood up for the third time, and she was furious. Guangxi returned to the RV and found that Iku was already asleep. He tucked her in, kissed her, and sketched a picture of her sleeping peacefully next to the bed. Iku woke up early in the morning, saw the picture and Guangxi sleeping beside her, and couldn't help but feel moved. Guangxi had already prepared breakfast for Iku. The feelings between the two of them were growing stronger by the day. Iku's father still didn't know about her breakup. Worried that something had happened to her relationship with Zaylin, he wanted to proactively contact Zaylin. Luckily, Ibo stopped his father. To cover for his sister, he even went downstairs to pick up Iku in place of their father. Ibo, seeing Guangxi and Iku hugging, was very angry. In a moment of impulse, he almost hit Guangxi, but thankfully, Iku stopped him. Iku hoped that her brother could keep her secret, but her brother completely couldn't accept that the two of them were together. The two siblings had a big fight. In Ibo's eyes, his sister had become someone who changed boyfriends like she changed clothes. His own sister and his friend getting together was, for him, a double blow. That evening, the whole family had dinner together. Ibo had a sour face and said hurtful words to Guangxi. Aunt Lan misunderstood, thinking that the two had a conflict. Father Yin also found his son strange. In his eyes, Guangxi was an understanding and filial person. The father and son even argued and didn't eat dinner. Aunt Lan went to visit Guangxi that evening to ask him about the matter between him and Ibo. Guangxi lied, saying that he had been winning too many basketball games lately, so Ibo might be a little unhappy. Aunt Lan believed his words. The competitiveness between children wasn't a big deal. That evening, Iku and Guangxi were video calling when Ibo caught them. He scolded Guangxi again and hung up. Iku sent a red envelope to her brother, hoping that he would keep her secret. Ibo accepted the money, but still couldn't accept the fact that they were in love. Chunyi met Iran in the elevator again when going to work. He apologized again. This time, he had really angered Iran. It seemed that he would have to put in a lot more effort to coax her. Xiaomian fell asleep during a meeting and was lectured by Iku. Seeing that Iku wasn't in a good mood, she went to find Ibo to ask for help. In reality, Xiaomian had also already figured out about Guangxi and Iku, and even showed photos to Ibo, which made Ibo's head hurt even more. Xiao Mian's attitude was different from Yibo's. She greatly supported them being together and didn't understand why Yibo was so old-fashioned. In modern love, age wasn't an issue at all. Yibo said hurtful words. As long as he was alive, they would never be able to be together. Yibo rarely picked up his sister after work. It was precisely to prevent her from being with Guangxi. Yibo forced his sister to go home. Guangxi was very understanding. When Yibo came to pick up Iku after work, he felt relieved and let them go first. Xiao Mian, unable to convince Yibo to help her on her own, had no choice but to ask Guangxi for help. She told him about Yibo doing live streams, hoping that Guangxi could help her convince Yibo to teach her how to do sales live streams. During this period, Guangxi also had no way to meet with Yibo. He was very hostile towards him. Guangxi looked at the materials that Xiao Mian had brought and decided to think of a way. After all, helping her was indirectly helping Iku. Guangxi decided to use a man's approach to win over Yibo. The two made an appointment to play basketball at a basketball court. Guangxi was better at basketball, and he took the opportunity to mock Yibo, mentioning that Iku had been transferred to the livestream department and was having headaches every day because of the data and sales figures. Yibo always said he cared about his sister, but only knew how to judge her private life. The two made a bet that if Yibo won, Guangxi had to stay away from his sister. Guangxi agreed to it. If he lost, he wouldn't be allowed to interfere with the affairs between him and Iku anymore. Guangxi knew Yibo's personality. He would definitely do his best to help Iku, and his feelings for Iku weren't something that could be broken easily. Yibo, holding the materials that Guangxi gave him, left the basketball court. Yibo was serious now. This time, he would do his best to help Xiao Mian with her livestream. That evening was the special Qixi Festival livestream, and Yibo, as Xiao Mian's livestream assistant, needed to be by her side. To avoid Iku discovering them, they collaborated with Guangxi to trick Iku. But Iku would definitely be watching the entire livestream. With no other choice, Yibo had to choose to direct Xiao Mian from afar. Xiao Mian's performance during this livestream was beyond everyone's expectations. Iku didn't expect her to suddenly become so enlightened, which made her a bit suspicious. When Xiao Mian was arranging the materials and taking gifts, her earphone fell on the ground. Iku saw it and heard Yibo's voice in the earphone. She was very curious and followed the direction of the sound to the bathroom, but was blocked by Guangxi. Seeing Guangxi looking flustered, she knew there was definitely something fishy going on, so she returned to the live stream room. Iku saw Yibo and Xiao Mian live streaming together. He was using his own account to bring viewers to Xiao Mian's live stream. Under Guangxi's persuasion, Iku decided to see her brother's abilities. Sure enough, with his help, the livestream data soared, and the sales from this livestream would definitely reach the set KPI. Yibo's secret was exposed. He hoped his sister could support his livestream career. In return, Iku also hoped that her brother could keep her relationship a secret. Iku told her brother that thanks to Guangxi being by her side, she knew that she was also valued by others and didn't have to just live for others. Now, she had learned to value herself. Yibo was moved. As a younger brother, of course he wanted his sister to be happy, but he still had to continue testing Guangxi until he saw that Guangxi was worthy of being his brother-in-law. Iku and her livestream department had achieved good results. Director Zheng was very satisfied. This time, Director Zheng decided to collaborate with the Blossom World game to promote the company's new products, which would be beneficial for both sides. Right from the start, the two sides signed a contract smoothly. Chunyi caused trouble at the perfume counter and was caught by Yiran. Chunyi waited for Chunyi in the lobby. Just when Chunyi and Guangxi appeared together, Chunyi called Dad. Seeing Yiran, Chunyi didn't dare respond and lied, saying that this was Guangxi's son. This scene was seen by Xiao Mian, who believed it was true and told Iku about it. Iku also believed Xiao Mian's words. She thought of how Guangxi had said he would give her a surprise on Qixi Festival. Now it seemed like it might be a shock. Based on her experience, Yiran wasn't fooled by Chunyi. She knew that the child was Chunyi's, and she misunderstood that Chunyi was having an affair and that she had unintentionally become the mistress, so she planned to meet him on Qixi Festival to teach him a lesson. Chunyi really liked Yiran. Seeing that she had proactively asked him to meet, he wanted to make up for his mistakes from the past and had to send his son to Guangxi first. Yibo not only had to cover for Iku now, but also had to help Guangxi deal with Antwan. Although he was tired, he was getting 2 red envelopes, which was somewhat of a consolation. Guangxi invited Iku to his house. Iku knew about him having a child, but Guangxi had no intention of explaining, so she felt a bit worried on the way to Guangxi's house. He couldn't see Aunt Lan behind her when she arrived downstairs at Guangxi's house. Aunt Lan saw Yiku and immediately entered Guangxi's house using the passcode. Afterwards, remembering what Yibo had said today, she seemed to have guessed something. Only then did Iko learn that the child wasn't Guangxi's. Hearing the child call Guangxi godfather, she was finally relieved. Father Yin noticed the changes in the feelings between Iku and Zay Lin, but didn't expect that they had broken up. So he secretly contacted Zay Lin. Zay Lin guessed that Ika hadn't told the truth to her father yet, so he didn't proactively say anything. Instead, he went along with Father Yin's words to get through the conversation. Iran wanted to go to Chun Ye's house, but unexpectedly, Chun Yi found all sorts of ways to refuse. Iran felt that Chun Yi was being secretive. Chun Yi had a hard time persuading Iran to go to a bar with him. Seeing Iran agree, he breathed a sigh of relief. Little did he know that Iran was plotting something. Iran told Chun Yi to confess his love for her in front of everyone in the square. This was to wait until the fountain started spraying water to embarrass him. Chun Yi fell for it. He was soaked by the water, causing everyone around to burst out laughing. Iran said in front of everyone that bad men should get what they deserve. Chun Yi actually wanted to explain to her that he was divorced and had a child, and he felt unworthy of her. When he realized that he had really fallen in love with her, he hadn't thought of a way to explain it yet, and he had already been misunderstood by her. Iran didn't listen to his explanation, turned around, and left. Xiaomian wanted to ask Yibo to go out with her, which was also to express her gratitude for him helping her with the live stream. Yibo was busy restocking goods and didn't want to have dinner with her. Xiaomian then called him, pretending like she was in danger at home. Yibo believed her and rushed to Xiaomian's house. Xiaomian prepared a table full of food and even had a heart-shaped cake. Finally, she was able to express her gratitude to Yibo as she had wished. Yibo, seeing the cake, thought Xiaomian was throwing a birthday party and wanted to light the candles and make a wish. Xiaomian reminded him that she wanted to celebrate Qixi Festival with him, which made him a bit embarrassed. Aunt Lan paced back and forth in front of Guangxi's house for a long time, and in the end, she still didn't knock on the door. Returning home, she was restless and worried, wanting to talk to Father Yin, but she hadn't thought of how to start. Chun Yi came to Guangxi's house to pick up Chen Yu, who was sound asleep. Guangxi and Iko both encouraged him to pursue Iran. Seizing the last moments of Qixi Festival, Guangxi showed Iku her gift. Each carefully prepared photo was a moment from when they met to when they fell in love. Iku was completely immersed in happiness. Chun Yi brought Chen Yu to the company to work. He met Iran in the lobby on the first floor. Chen Yu could be considered the best wingman. The boy called Iran mom in front of a lot of people and also hoped that Chen Yu would man up. Iran ignored them and stepped into the elevator. Chen Yi brought Chen Yu to the company for the first time to formally introduce him to everyone. Mu Sun was the #1 godfather. Guangxi was the #2 godfather. The other employees were all extremely surprised. They didn't expect that Chen Yi had been hiding something like this for so long. There was a problem with the contract that Iku had signed with Blossom World before. The other party didn't acknowledge signing the contract. Now, the company had received a letter from the other party's lawyers, requesting them to pay compensation. Only then did Ika find out that the person who had contacted her had quit a long time ago, which led to this result. This matter made Frank very angry, and Ika had to clean up the mess again. Guangxi prepared a birthday gift and cake for Father Yin. He and Ika would return home to celebrate Father Yin's birthday. Unexpectedly, Father Yin invited Zay Lin without telling them. Father Yin solemnly introduced Zay Lin, pointing to this lawyer's son-in-law with pride. Ika was about to explain things to her father, but luckily, Guangxi stopped her. Otherwise, it would have definitely made Father Yin angry. After dinner, Iku and Guangxi saw Zay Lin off. Zay Lin originally thought that Iku had regretted it. Only after coming to her house today did he realize that things weren't as he had imagined. Guangxi, using the excuse of not being full, went to eat with Iku. Iku noticed Guangxi's bad mood. She planned to explain everything to her family, but Guangxi only wanted her to be happy and told her that some things couldn't be rushed. That evening, Aunt Lan went to Guangxi's house to ask him about his girlfriend. Guangxi admitted that he did indeed have a girl he liked, but he needed a suitable time to make it public. Aunt Lan didn't force Guangxi, only hoping that he could treat the other person well and not be like his irresponsible father from years ago. Looking at Aunt Lan's expression, Guangxi could guess that she probably already knew about him and Iku. He wanted to tell Iku, but didn't want her to worry, so he had to endure it himself. Iku's company sued Blossom World. Zaylin wanted to seize this opportunity, so he took the case. Iku didn't expect that the job that Zaylin had mentioned when coming to Shanghai would actually be this matter. After all, he was her ex-boyfriend. Now, they were working together, so it was a bit awkward. Moreover, the old employees who followed Iku still didn't know about their breakup, and they were even happy that their brother-in-law had returned to help. Xiao Mian took a photo of them working together and intentionally posted it on her social media. Guangxi was very angry when he saw this post. He couldn't get in touch with Iku, so he immediately planned to go find her after work. When he ran downstairs, he found Iku dozing off on the sofa in the lobby. Guangxi, seeing Iku swaying, breathed a sigh of relief and sat down next to her. Iku's head happened to lean on Guangxi's shoulder. Zaylin saw the sweet scene of Iku and Guangxi together, and his eyes revealed a fierce and unwilling expression. This time, he definitely had to win Iku back. Iku and Guangxi had a meal at a convenience store. She took this opportunity to talk about how Zaylin had come to the company to help with the lawsuit and promised that she would only have a professional relationship with him and no other contact. Guangxi chuckled, seeing Iku seriously explaining. He wasn't that petty, and moreover, he was very confident in their feelings for each other. Almost every day, Guangxi prepared a love lunchbox for Iku. Early in the morning, he brought the lunchbox to pick up Iku, and he met Zaylin again. Zaylin used work as an excuse to pick up Iku. Unexpectedly, Guangxi appeared in the middle of their drive. In the end, Iku still chose to let Guangxi drive her to work. At the company, Zaylin intentionally provoked Guangxi when Iku wasn't around. He called Guangxi a driving instructor and said that there were some things that only he could solve. These words really touched Guangxi's confidence, and he had a sense of crisis. Chunyu was doing his homework at the company when he overheard employees mentioning that the company had investors. The boy said that he was the investor behind the scenes. At that time, the company's unpaid utility bills were all paid by Chunyi using his tuition money. These words shocked everyone. Just when Chunyi returned after giving a presentation, he was wondering how to get employees to accept the client's revised proposal. Unexpectedly, as soon as he mentioned it, everyone had proactively revised it themselves. Chunyi was completely shocked. Chunyi was truly a lucky charm on Chunye's path to pursuing love. The boy was very understanding. To get Iran to forgive his father, he went to Iran's company. As soon as he saw her, he called her mom. Her colleagues at the company didn't expect that Iran had this identity. Iran said embarrassedly that this was her adopted son. Chunyu said that he had caught a cold. Iran, not understanding the situation, took him to buy cold medicine and then took him back to Chunye's company. Unexpectedly, it was Chunyi who had caught a cold. Chunyu, seeing that his dad was too busy, insisted that Iran take him out to eat. Iran, seeing that Chunyu was also pitiful, agreed to the boy's request. Chunyu told Iran that it was because of him that Chunyi had stood her up in the past. Iran wasn't a heartless person. Seeing Chunyu being cute and understanding, she was willing to listen to him talk about Chunyi. Chunyu had never been loved by his mother since he was born, and he only had Chunyi by his side. Now, he hoped he could have a mother who loved his dad and loved him too. Chunyi went to find Chunyu. He sincerely expressed his gratitude. Iran, knowing the truth about being stood up in the past, was no longer angry. The misunderstanding was resolved, but the matter of becoming Chunyu's mother still depended on Chunye's future actions. Zaylin and Iku had a meeting with the lawyers from Blossom World. In the process of reviewing the case, Iku, from her professional point of view, hoped that Blossom World could reduce the compensation amount, which made Zaylin feel a bit awkward. He felt that Iku had interrupted his work progress. Iku knew that she and Zaylin had different perspectives on the nature of the problem, so she didn't say anything more. Zaylin, seeing this, also suppressed his temper. Iku had arranged to leave work with Guangxi. Zaylin, being shrewd, intentionally used the excuse of discussing work to keep Iku working overtime with him. He even intentionally went to a place far away to buy a dish that Iku really liked so that he could be with her a little longer. While buying food, Zaylin saw Guangxi waiting for Iku in the lobby on the first floor. He intentionally went up to greet him, telling Guangxi that Iku had to work overtime with him and that he didn't need to wait anymore. He also rambled on, implying that Iku was just having fun with Guangxi and that she would definitely return to him eventually. Moreover, the important thing was that he was the good son-in-law in the eyes of Iku's family, while Guangxi still couldn't go public. In front of her family, he was still Iku's younger brother. Guangxi suppressed the anger in his heart. The last bit of reason he had left kept him from doing anything drastic to Zaylin. After working overtime, Ika couldn't contact Guangxi and felt very anxious. She contacted his roommate, Mu's son, and learned that Guangxi was at home, so she immediately went to his place. To find him, Ika found out that Guangxi had been secretly researching information about Blossom World to help her, which made her feel a bit moved. Just when Musin also showed up, Iku proactively announced a relationship with Guangxi to him. Musin didn't believe it at first. It wasn't until he saw the intimate actions between the two that he realized he was slow on the uptake. Although he was slow on the uptake, he was a discerning person and knew how to create private space for Guangxi and Iku. Guangxi and Iku spent the night together, and poor Musun had to stay in a hotel for the night. Blossom World suddenly decided to reconcile with Iku's company, which surprised everyone. Zaylin used the excuse of discussing work to trick Iku into attending a meeting for his law firm. When Iku arrived, she proactively explained that she had broken up with Zaylin. If they weren't discussing work, she would excuse herself to leave first. Zaylin chased after her, wanting to take advantage of the situation and sign the reconciliation agreement with Blossom World, leading Iku to the car to get the contract. Iku fell for it. She got into Zaylin's car, but Zaylin didn't hurry to take out the contract. Instead, he talked about how much effort he had put in to get the other party to agree to reconcile. He agreed to be a legal consultant for Blossom World and reduce his service fees by half. He would be working in Shanghai in the future, and he hoped that everything could return to the way it was before, including his relationship with Iku. On the other hand, Guangxi learned from Iran that Iku had gone to find Zaylin. It had been a long time, and he still couldn't contact her, so everyone was very worried. Iran sent Guangxi the address, and Chunyi lent him his car. Guangxi quickly went to find Iku. This time, Zaylin was fully prepared. He had taken the household registration book from Father Een and planned to directly take Iku to register for marriage. Iku was furious. Finally, she realized that she and Zaylin were fundamentally people from two different worlds. She demanded that Zaylin stop the car, but Zaylin didn't listen. Just when Guangxi called, he angrily threw Iku's phone into the back seat. Iku went to pick up the phone, and because of that, the two started arguing, which eventually led to a car accident. Luckily, they were taken to the hospital in time. Iku only suffered minor injuries. Iran and Chunyi rushed to the hospital after hearing the news. Father Een and Aunt Lon also arrived at the hospital after hearing the news, and they happened to overhear Iku telling the police, who were there to investigate, that Guangxi was her boyfriend. Father Een was furious. He also lost his senses and felt that Guangxi wasn't qualified to marry Iku because he didn't have a car, didn't have a house, and didn't have savings. Seeing this, Iku immediately explained to Guangxi. Finally, she also expressed her dissatisfaction with her father. She had always been her father's obedient daughter, but her father had never cared about whether she was truly happy or not. Father Een couldn't control his emotions and tried to hit Guangxi, but he hit Iku instead. Seeing this, Aunt Lon quickly took Father Een away. Guangxi looked at Iku with heartache. He told Iku that no matter what, he wouldn't break up with her. Iku didn't intend to pursue the matter. She also knew that Zaylin was a lawyer and couldn't have a criminal record, so she treated this matter as a normal traffic accident. Iran didn't expect Zaylin to be so two-faced, forcing Iku to register for marriage, so she scolded Zaylin at the hospital. Now that things had come to this, Iku decided to explain things to her father herself. She hoped that the happiness she was pursuing could be accepted by her father. Iku stood outside her father's door and told him that she was very steadfast in her current choice and hoped that she could receive his support. As usual, Aunt Lon prepared warm milk before bed for Iku, and she also took this opportunity to talk to Iku. At first, Aunt Lon also couldn't accept that Iku and Guangxi were together, but she only wanted her children to be happy. If Iku and Guangxi were serious with each other, she would support them. Iku couldn't predict the future, but she was sure that she wanted to continue walking this path with Guangxi. Hearing that Aunt Lon supported her, Iku hugged her tightly. Although she wasn't her biological mother, Iku had been very happy all these years thanks to Aunt Lon. To put her father at ease, Iku chose to move out for a few days. At first, she planned to temporarily stay at Iran's place, but Guangxi invited her to live with him instead. This way, he could both be by Iku's side and let Father Een see their determination. Finally, Iku and Guangxi officially started living together. The first thing they did was go buy household items together. One thing will always conquer another. Father Een still had to rely on Aunt Lon to manage him. Aunt Lon decided to hand over all the big and small matters in the house to Father Ian to handle. She didn't even cook anymore. Ika slept in Guangshi's bedroom. Guangxi had prepared everything for her in advance. Even in the bathroom, there were a lot of her skincare products. To help Ika sleep well, he even specially left warm milk by her bedside. Guangxi brought a blanket and pillow to the living room and slept on the floor. Guangxi was now starting to have a headache because he didn't know how to win over his future father-in-law. He asked Chenyi for help, and Chenyi happily agreed to help him. After Zaylin and Ika broke up, the case between Ika's company and Blossom World had to start over from scratch. Director Zheng resigned because of this matter. Ika was very sad. Over the years, Director Zheng had always been her guide and role model in her career. Now that Director Zheng had suddenly resigned, and with Xianjia, that villain, Ika could only decide to fight to the end. Ika was very fortunate that she had a team of employees under her who were willing to fight alongside her. Xiao Mian told Yibo about this, hoping that Yibo could also help. Guangxi invited Chenyi and Mu Sun to be advisors. Just then, they met Iku, Iran, Xiao Mian, and Yibo, who were rushing over. Everyone decided to go to a coffee shop to discuss how to win over the father-in-law. Everyone tried to offer ideas to the couple, Guangxi and Iku. Chenyi and Iran gave relatively useful advice. When dealing with older people, they shouldn't be too aggressive, but instead they should try to understand their preferences. In addition, they also had to let Father Ian see that Guangxi truly treated Ika well. Only then would he really be at ease handing his daughter over to him. The first step for Guangxi to win over his father-in-law was to learn how to cook from his mother. While Ika was taking a shower, he cooked a lavish meal, asking Ika to help him taste it. Every dish had Aunt Lan's flavor. Ika really liked it. During the day, Yibo secretly did a live stream selling Ika's products at home, hoping to help his sister increase viewership. But he was discovered by his father. His father became furious, thinking that Yibo was making money from live streams and not studying properly. Just as Yibo was being lectured by his father, Aunt Lon returned home. Hearing the argument, she quickly came to mediate. She took Yibo away, hoping that Father Ian could calm down and think things through. Because of his anger, Father Ian had a stroke due to high blood pressure and was taken to the hospital. Iku and Guangxi, after hearing the news, immediately rushed to the hospital. In reality, Father Ian was fine, but he still intentionally stayed in the hospital. Iku, worried about her father's health, decided to let him stay in the hospital to rest and recuperate. This was the perfect time for Guangxi to show off his abilities. He proactively went with the doctor to handle the admission procedures. That evening, Iku and Guangxi were together at the hospital, taking care of her father. Guangxi bought some food and, seeing that Father Ian was pretending to sleep, sat by his bed and said some words from his heart to him. He knew that although Iku had moved out, she was always worried about her father. In his daughter's heart, every father was great. Guangxi said these words hoping that his and Iku's relationship wouldn't affect their father-daughter relationship. Father Yin's health was recovering quite well. He was already preparing to go through the discharge procedures, but unexpectedly, the doctor brought some not-so-good news. Although Father Yin's high blood pressure was within the controlled range, a shadow was found on his lung. Father Ian didn't expect that his pretending to be sick would backfire. He could only obediently stay in the hospital for further tests. The whole family began to worry about Father Yin's condition. They still didn't know the specific cause, but the doctor's words made everyone worry. With Father Ian in the hospital and Ika having to work overtime, the responsibility of taking care of him fell on Guangxi. Aunt Lon also intentionally created opportunities for her son. She had a lot of faith in her son. As for Father Ian, he intentionally made things difficult for Guangxi every day. In reality, he knew that Guangxi was a good young man, but he wasn't sure if he was a good son-in-law. This was also considered a test for him. Guangxi took care of Father Ian very attentively. Besides preparing all kinds of food for him, he also asked the doctors for all the test results, carefully inquiring about them. In the evenings, he even sat in the hospital corridor looking at the test results. Father Ian came out of his hospital room and saw Guangxi sound asleep. He also saw his test results in his hand. After all, people were made of flesh and blood. Although Father Ian said harsh words, he was very soft-hearted on the inside. He had seen Guangxi's actions over the past few days. Ika, who came to the hospital early in the morning with a lunch, happened to overhear the conversation between her father and Guangxi. In reality, Father Ian had always loved her. He knew that Ika had been well-behaved and understanding since she was little. Growing up, he had also hoped that she could find someone who truly loved her. Guangxi expressed to Father Yin his determination to take care of Yiku. He hoped that Yiku could just live happily and everything else could be left to him to worry about. Yiku was very moved by this conversation. At this moment, she felt like the happiest person in the world. Yibo had also gradually grown up after his father's illness this time. At first, he still couldn't accept that his father was controlling him and his sister. They were both adults now, but they were still being nagged at by their father like 3-year-olds. Luckily, there was Xiaomian. She helped Yibo resolve the knots in his heart. Xiaomian admired Yibo for having a father like that by his side. As for her, she rarely had the opportunity to be with her father from when she was little until she grew up. But she never blamed her father because he was also being a father for the first time. He was trying his best to make money to support the family and was sacrificing himself for his children. After hearing what Xiaomian had said, Yibo decided to start over. He wanted to contribute his efforts to help his father's recovery, so he had to sadly sell his limited edition clothing and shoes that he had worked so hard to buy. Father Yin's test results came back, and there were no major issues. Yibo misunderstood the doctor shaking his head to mean that the situation wasn't good. Before understanding the situation, he rushed into the hospital room, hugged his father, and cried, promising to study hard for his master's degree and give his father a healthy grandson. Yibo cried his heart out, and then learned that he had misunderstood the doctor's meaning. Father Yin was discharged from the hospital. The whole family was very happy. This was the first time that the whole family had sat down to eat a meal together since Guangxi and Yiku had made their relationship public. After dinner, Aunt Lan intentionally created an opportunity for Father Yin and Yiku to be alone together. She took Guangxi and Yibo to the supermarket to buy groceries. Yiku knew that her father loved her, but ever since she was little, she had always listened to her father's wishes. This time, it was a major matter in her life, and she hoped that she could make her own choices and be in control. Yiku told her father that Guangxi was like a light in her life, giving her a lot of courage. He was the guiding light for her. Father Yin saw that Yiku and Guangxi were sincere with each other. Moreover, he had seen Guangxi's actions over the past few days. This child was indeed a good person. Father Yin decided to yield. He agreed to let his daughter date Guangxi. The romantic relationship had made a breakthrough. Now they needed to solve the career problems. Yiku continued to resolve the mess of the copyright infringement lawsuit with Blossom World. She personally went to Blossom World to make an appointment to meet with CEO Su, wanting to discuss finding a win-win solution. But she waited all day until just before closing time to meet CEO Su. But CEO Su didn't want to pay attention to her, taking his exhibition tickets and leaving the company. Yiku noticed those tickets. To have the opportunity to continue collaborating with Blossom World, she decided to go to the exhibition to continue talking with CEO Su. Yiku went to the original art exhibition to find CEO Su, wanting to continue talking about Blossom World collaborating with SC products. But CEO Su felt that the company didn't have any suitable products to collaborate with his company, so he refused. Just then, Guangxi arrived with the work he had prepared for Blossom World. Sure enough, he had used his expertise to persuade CEO Su. CEO Su, finding out that Guangxi was an employee of another company, and to avoid copyright disputes, was planning to refuse. Chunyi suddenly appeared. As Guangxi's boss, he decided to voluntarily give up the copyright for this content. CEO Su decided to test Guangxi's true abilities. CEO Su personally invited Yiku to the company to discuss the next steps. Moreover, her attitude towards Yiku had changed 180 degrees. Yiku saw a work with the name Guangxi on the table and knew that he had been secretly helping her. Yiku not only won over CEO Su, but she also persuaded her boss, Frank, to sign a betting agreement. This established the collaboration. Moreover, Yiku was very confident. Frank decided to move the livestream department back to their old positions, hoping that Yiku could lead the team to achieve outstanding results. Yibo was studying at the library. He decided to listen to his father and study hard for his master's degree, even though this wasn't what he liked. Xiaomian, sitting next to him, felt a bit heartbroken. She felt that Yibo should focus on the livestream field. She could feel that Yibo really liked live streaming. But seeing that Yibo had to give up what he liked to satisfy his father's wishes, Xiaomian decided to persuade Father Yin. That evening, Yibo did his last live stream at home. He didn't know that his father was watching his live stream. Father Yin saw that a lot of people were giving gifts to his son, and he also gave a yacht. As soon as he saw that it had cost over 1,000 yuan, He felt heartache and shouted, telling Ibo to return the money to him. Father Ian saw that over 300,000 people liked and supported Ibo, and he was also very happy. He decided that he wouldn't forbid him from live streaming in the future as long as he passed his master's entrance exam. Afterwards, he could freely live stream. Guangxi was working overtime again, with Yiku at the company. This time, their team had expanded to include Chunyi and Iran. It was also a good opportunity for them to develop their feelings. While they were having a meeting, Chunyi called Chunyi, wanting Iran to tell him a story. The relationship between Iran and Chunyi was also getting better and better. Although she had never been a mother before, she was very patient with Chunyi. After working overtime, Iran went home with Chunyi and told Chunyi a story. Listening to Iran tell a story before bed had become a habit for Chunyi. The more Iran interacted with Chunyi, the more she saw that he was a model father. To help his son complete a school craft project, he even specifically went to learn how to do it. Iran didn't understand why Chunyi, with his own house and car, had been single for so many years. With his conditions, it shouldn't be hard for him to find a gentle and considerate stepmother for Chunyi. But Chunyi told her that it was precisely because he had some advantages that he had some dreams, and he also hoped he could find someone he truly loved. CEO Su from Blossom World was very satisfied with Iku's collaboration plan, but she wanted to meet Guangxi even more. Actually, from the first time she had met Guangxi, she had had a different feeling. She had even started searching for information related to him online. Iku's work was progressing smoothly. When Iku was working, she exuded a special charm. For Guangxi, just quietly watching her work was already a happiness. CEO Su from Blossom World officially invited Guangxi to join her team. As a boss, she knew how to recruit suitable talent. Compared to the company that Guangxi was currently working for, she could offer a clear promotion plan and a generous salary for Guangxi. Guangxi didn't answer her immediately. In reality, he didn't value the temptations that CEO Su talked about. Guangxi told Iku that CEO Su wanted to poach him to another company. He didn't want Iku to be jealous, but Iku said that she wouldn't interfere with his career choices. She trusted that Guangxi would make the right decision. The live stream tonight went very smoothly. The help from Ibo was also indispensable. That evening, Ibo and Xiaomian went out for a late-night snack together to celebrate. Xiaomian kept hinting at Ibo, hoping that their relationship could take another step forward, but Ibo was a straightforward guy who couldn't be more straightforward. He didn't understand Xiaomian's meaning at all, and was just focused on watching soccer. Xiaomian felt very helpless seeing Ibo like this. In the end, unexpectedly, Ibo started drinking with the people at the next table, celebrating the goal scored by their favorite team. Xiaomian, completely abandoned, was speechless. Ibo was a little drunk. Xiaomian, craving a sweet kiss in the summer night wind, saw Ibo's dazed look and provoked him, saying that he still had his first kiss and didn't even know how to kiss. Drunk, Ibo grabbed Xiaomian's head and kissed her, then told Xiaomian to take responsibility for him, and then passed out. Xiaomian was frightened by this unexpected kiss. After reacting, she shouted joyfully. Finally, her wish had come true, but happy times always passed by very quickly. The next day, Ibo had forgotten that he had kissed Xiaomian because he was drunk. Xiaomian even specially bought him breakfast, wanting to spend a happy day with her boyfriend. Unexpectedly, Ibo had amnesia. Xiaomian, sad, went to the beach alone. She didn't expect that Ibo would be a heartbreaker like that. Alone in her sorrow, Iku, after experiencing a busy period with work, finally had a leisurely weekend. Just as Mu-sun had returned to his hometown to visit his mother, she and Guangxi had a sweet day together. Guangxi, along with Chunyi and the others, went to meet with CEO Xie of Firestar Animation for a meeting. But CEO Xie always wanted to see more detailed proposals and was also unwilling to invest any money, making it difficult for the two sides to continue negotiating. Chunyi was very confident in the quality of his work, so this time, he didn't want to compromise. But a traitor appeared within the group. Shun Miao, because of his mounting debts, didn't know what to do. He answered a phone call demanding payment, and CEO Xie overheard him. CEO Xie gave his business card to him. Everyone understood clearly that CEO Xie was bribing him, wanting to use him to obtain the detailed plan of this project so that Firestar Animation could cut Xinye's company out and carry out the project themselves. Iku had led the livestream department to achieve good results and was promoted to vice director, a position equal to Xienja. Some were happy, and others were sad. Iku's team was very happy, but Xienja felt a sense of crisis. He knew that now he would have a competitor for the director's position. His congratulations to Iku were only polite words. Iku received a phone call from Lin's mother. Lin's mother was very worried on the phone, hoping that Iku could help Lin. Lin had a glioma. Even if he recovered, he would have long-term side effects. Because of this, Lin was very prideful and wouldn't cooperate with the doctor's treatment. Helpless, Lin's mother came to ask Iku for help. Guangxi overheard the content of Iku's phone conversation. After hanging up, the two started to discuss it. Guangxi hoped that Iku could follow her heart to make a choice and not have any regrets for anything. In the end, Guangxi went with Iku to the hospital. He waited outside the hospital room while Iku went in to talk to Lin. Lin, because of his illness, was gradually being ostracized by his law firm. He wasn't happy at all to see Iku come. He was even more angry, thinking that Iku had come to see him and laugh at him. Iku hoped that he could regain his spirit. There were still people who loved and cared about him and were worried about him. After being heartbroken, Xiao Mian started to focus on her career, proactively requesting to increase the number of live streams. Ibo watched her live stream and, hearing her talk about being heartbroken, finally remembered that the two had eaten grilled food together by the roadside that night and that something had probably happened. But he couldn't remember what it was, so he went to the roadside grill to try to recover his memories. The grill owner still remembered him and recounted the story of him kissing Xiao Mian that night. Ibo didn't expect that he would do such foolish things after getting drunk. He proactively sent a message to apologize to Xiao Mian. Xiao Mian didn't reply to him. Ika still hoped that Lin could have surgery and cooperate with the doctor's treatment. This time, she changed her approach, bringing the documents for the first case that Lin had won to find him. It was precisely because of this case that Lin had firmly decided to pursue the path of a lawyer. Lin wavered a bit. He recalled the path he had traveled over the years. He still had his ideals and he still had his parents. He couldn't just give up like this. He couldn't just give up on his life. Father Ian and Aunt Lon were strolling in the park when they overheard some people talking badly behind their backs. Father Ian became furious and defended his daughter in front of everyone. He also told them not to interfere in other people's business. Aunt Lon recorded this scene. Although Father Ian was very strict with Iku on a normal day, he absolutely wouldn't allow outsiders to say anything bad about his daughter. Chinye's game Mystic City was pirated. Firestar Animation had used dishonest tactics to obtain their detailed plans and then released an animated movie first. This meant that everyone's efforts would go down the drain. They could also choose the legal route, but everyone knew that a copyright lawsuit would take a lot of time and be difficult to win. Furthermore, the opposing company had a professional legal team. Everything became very difficult. Guangxi was very sad. He sat in front of a convenience store, tearing up his drafts and throwing them away. Ika saw this scene. After Guangxi left, she picked up the drafts and pasted them back together piece by piece. Guangxi returned home and saw that Iku had prepared a table full of food for him, and she had also pasted his drafts back together. His eyes turned red. Iku comforted Guangxi, hoping that he wouldn't forget his ideals and perseverance. Now, Lin had also agreed to have surgery, so she could spend more time with Guangxi in the future. Chinye's company was facing a crisis, but he didn't want to dissolve the company. These employees were like family to him, his brothers, and he couldn't let them lose their jobs. Therefore, Chinye decided to sell his house. Chinye's house quickly caught the eye of buyers. Now, the problem was how to settle down and live happily with his son. Chinye wanted to live with Iran. Chinye, wanting to fulfill his son's wishes, had to go find Iran. Iran, seeing Chinye begging her and seeing the pitiful Chinye, still softened her heart and took Chinye back to her house. Iran overheard the conversation between Moo's son and other colleagues at the convenience store and found out that Chinye's company seemed to be having problems. But she was too proud to ask Chinye proactively, so she secretly asked Chinye. Chinye also said that he didn't know. Chinye, wanting to maintain the normal operations of the company, started taking on some odd jobs. In the evening, having no home to go to, he slept at the company. Iku, seeing that Guangxi was working overtime every day and wasn't in a good mood, was also very worried. That evening, she went to her parents' house to have dinner and told her parents about Guangxi participating in a project that had been pirated. Father Ian, while blaming Iku for insisting on finding a younger boyfriend, took out his bank card and forced his daughter to accept it. Father Ian also knew that the work Guangxi was doing had potential. Young people always had to go through difficulties to grow up. As long as they persevered, they would definitely see the light of day. Ibo learned from Iku that Xiao Mian was sick, so he became very worried about her. He proactively brought medicine and food, and even specially bought a t-shirt to visit Xiao Mian. In reality, Ibo wasn't a cold-blooded person. He was still very considerate, helping Xiao Mian wipe her hands and telling her how to take her medicine, and then he hurriedly left. The next day, Xiao Mian told Iku about how she had kissed Ibo and also accused Ibo of giving her an illogical t-shirt that was a mess. She felt that Ibo was scolding her. Fortunately, Iku helped her brother out of the situation. She told Xiao Mian that this was a wordplay. Illogical and mess sounded similar to marry and mess in Chinese. It was Ibo confessing his feelings for her. Only then did Xiao Mian understand. She felt a bit embarrassed and ran back to her office with the clothes. Father Yin saw that Ibo wasn't in a good mood and guessed that he had argued with Xiao Mian. As a father, he had already seen that Xiao Mian liked his son, and moreover, he was very satisfied with this girl. So he gave Ibo a plan, telling him to use his most sincere attitude to win over the girl. Ibo listened to his father and ran to Iku's company. While Xiao Mian was live streaming, he directly confessed his feelings to Xiao Mian in front of all of her colleagues and the viewers in the live stream. He recreated the scene from that night, kissing Xiao Mian when she wasn't prepared for it. Ibo wasn't good at expressing his feelings. He liked Xiao Mian. Xiao Mian could feel Ibo's sincerity, and she agreed to date him. The two hugged each other happily. Finally, another couple was brought together. Iran helped Chunyi take care of Chunyu, but was tormented in all sorts of ways. The former bar queen had now become a mother who had to go home to cook dinner right after work. Iku could see that she was gradually changing. Her story with Chunyi had only just begun. In the past, Iran almost never cooked, so cooking was now a difficult problem for her. But she was still trying her best. Chunyu, seeing her clumsy appearance, helplessly had to contact Chunyi, asking him to come save him in Iran. Chunyi brought a bunch of cooking ingredients and spices to Iran's house, cooked a lavish meal for them, and then rushed to the company. As soon as he entered the company, he saw Mu Sun and Guang Shi working overtime to find evidence of the plagiarism. Chunyi, not wanting them to know that he had sold his house, lied and said that he came to the company to visit them. Then, using the excuse of having to go home to be with Chunyu, he left. The feelings between Chunyi and Iran gradually became warmer. Every day, he went to Iran's house to cook. As they spent more and more time together, Iran's attitude towards Chunyi was also changing. Her eyes when she looked at Chunyi had a bit more admiration in them. That evening, Iran went to Chunyi's company and found that he was sleeping at the company. She vaguely guessed that he might have sold his house. Mu Sun and Guang Shi were also very smart. They noticed that Chunyi had come to the company in the middle of the night last time and had also brought a bunch of personal hygiene products. They guessed that he was probably living at the company and that he might have sold his house. Sure enough, they saw Chunyi's house on a real estate app. Guang Shi, wanting to find the mole, decided to use a set a long line to catch a big fish tactic. He intentionally said in front of everyone that he had a more optimal solution. As soon as he posted it, he would know who the plagiarizer was. Because they knew that Chunyi was sleeping at the company at night, they had to keep him there to catch the mole who was leaking information. This important mission was given to Mu's senator using the excuse of discussing the project with Chunyi. Mu's son kept Chunyi in the convenience store, but he couldn't focus because he was waiting for news from Guang Shi. Chunyi noticed his unusual behavior and forced him to tell the truth. It turned out that he and Guang Shi wanted to investigate the mole. In reality, Chunyi had already known that this matter was done by someone within the company. Guang Shi's tactic of setting a long line to catch a big fish worked. That evening, Demai indeed came to the company to take the materials. Just then, he was caught by Guang Shi. Chunyi and Mu's Senator Chunyi was very heartbroken. He was very sad. The brother who had fought alongside him was betraying the company, betraying the team. Demai explained that because the company sometimes didn't pay salaries on time, he had taken out high-interest loans to pay rent, and now he couldn't pay them back. That was why he had collaborated with CEO Xie. The situation had developed to this point beyond his expectations. But since the money had already been given and the rice had been cooked, CEO Xie now had something to threaten him with. He could only continue working for them. Chunyi could understand Demai. He apologized to Demai. It was because he was a poor manager that everyone had to suffer with him. Afterwards, he let Demai go. Chunyi didn't want Demai to have a criminal record in the future. Everyone had to struggle when they left their hometowns to start a career in a big city. Iku was also secretly helping Guang Shi and the others. She proactively contacted CEO Sue of Blossom World, hoping that CEO Sue could see the true colors of their partner, Firestar Animation, and choose to collaborate with Chun Ye's company instead. CEO Sue wanted to know how much Iku was willing to do for Guangxi. She suggested that all the employees of Chun Ye's company come with her to Guangzhou, which surprised Iku a bit. Iran learned about Chun Yi selling his house from Iku, so she proactively contacted Chun Yi and told him to pick up Chun Yu. Iran gave him the keys to her friend's house so that they could stay there temporarily. That way, Chun Yi and Chun Yi would have a place to live. After all, Chun Yi sleeping at the company every day wasn't a solution. Chun Yi was very touched by Iran's actions. Just when Chun Yi and his employees were encouraging each other at the company, CEO Sue's secretary came to invite them to play at Blossom World. CEO Sue of Blossom World invited Chun Ye's team to the company to discuss collaboration. She greatly recognized the abilities of this team, and of course, part of that was because of Guangxi. Although Blossom World was a game company, CEO Sue had plans to move into the film and television fields. Collaborating with Chun Ye's team was to have them be the pioneers. But the only condition was that all of them had to go to headquarters in Guangzhou. CEO Sue recognized Guangxi's hesitation, but her decision wouldn't change. It also depended on what Guangxi decided. In reality, Guangxi knew clearly that if he refused, this collaboration might not happen. Guangxi returned home and saw that Iku's face was gloomy. He guessed that being able to collaborate with CEO Sue was because Iku had been secretly helping. Faced with the difficult choice between love and career, Guangxi was in a dilemma. Chun Yi also didn't know what to choose. On one side was his career with the dreams of his good brothers. On the other side was Ran, whom he longed for day and night. After thinking it over, Chun Yi decided to ask Ran to come to the amusement park tomorrow and confess his feelings directly to her. If Ran agreed, he would stay. If Ran refused, he would lead the team to Guangzhou. Ran came to the amusement park as agreed. The three of them had a great time. Chun Yi always looked for opportunities to confess his feelings. Finally, he had the opportunity to be alone with Ran. He stammered, not knowing how to express himself. Just when he was preparing to take out the roses, Ran said that the relationship between the two of them could only be friends at most. Chun Yi was stunned. He tried to act calm and told Ran that he had expected this result. Ran was also very sad. In reality, she was waiting for Chun Yi, although she knew that she might not do well as a mother and wife. When she met the person she loved, she was also trying to change. She just needed someone to solidify these thoughts of hers. If Chun Yi had persevered a bit more, she would have accepted him and his son. Iku, feeling a bit sad about Guangxi's situation, asked Ran to go out for drinks at a bar. Ran, taking the opportunity, told Iku about what had happened at the amusement park today. Faced with Chun Ye's confession, she had instinctively avoided it. Fortunately, Iku had supported her. As a close friend, she advised Ran not to easily miss out when she met the right person. Iku understood Ran. She knew that Ran was afraid of getting hurt, so she didn't dare accept anyone else. Ran recalled the pain she had caused Chun Yi after meeting him. Adding to the fact that she had avoided him this time, she knew that this relationship was already missed. But if it was missed, there was no need to look back. Iku and Ran, while drinking and talking, both got a bit drunk. Just then, Chun Yi called. Iku helped Ran answer the call, taking this opportunity to have Chun Yi come pick up Ran. Ran, seeing Chun Yi, drunkenly said what was in her heart. She told Chun Yi that if he had been a bit more proactive, she wouldn't have run away. Ran told Chun Yi that she had grown up in an unhappy family since she was little, so she didn't believe in love. She only believed in staying single forever. Until one day, Chun Yi had appeared, and she had fallen in love with him. Ran had become even more afraid. She worried that happiness and joy would disappear quickly. If one day Chun Yi didn't like her, or Chun Yi didn't need her anymore, she would only be left alone. It was better to endure the pain of loss than to have never had it. Chun Yi, seeing Ran in pain, saw her crying and quickly took out the ring he had prepared and put it on her finger. Iku, seeing the two of them hugging, felt comforted. Iku and she took turns meeting with CEO Sue. When meeting with Iku, CEO Sue stated her position. She would get what she wanted. Iku also wouldn't lose. She would arrange everything well for Guangxi. As for the romantic relationship, she was very confident. CEO Sue admired Iku's confidence, thinking that she was an interesting opponent. Iku told CEO Sue that Guangxi's appearance had made her realize that she was also very good, and she also deserved to be valued. She believed that a short period of distance wouldn't cause their relationship to crack. CEO Su looked at her with admiration. Ika didn't know that She had overheard her conversation with CEO Su. Shi, seeing Iku's change, was very happy. He knew that only by becoming better himself would he have the ability to protect Iku. He promised Iku that even if they had a long-distance relationship, their feelings wouldn't change. Shi even specially prepared a long-distance relationship handbook, reading each clause in it to Iku. Iku and Shi began their long-distance relationship. They seriously adhered to every clause in the long-distance relationship handbook. They often sent each other voice messages to check up on each other. Whenever they were free, they would video call, and they would sometimes even watch movies together through video. They strived for their careers and also enjoyed their sweet love. But there were also times when they suddenly couldn't contact each other. That was definitely because Shi was preparing a surprise for Iku. Shi had arrived in Shanghai early to prepare a lavish meal for Iku. Iku finally understood why she hadn't been able to contact him earlier. Shi and the others completed the project in Guangzhou and returned to Shanghai. After that, there was a new project. CEO Su was very satisfied with the work of Shi and the others, and she decided to start the new project immediately. Iku was promoted to director of marketing. The tables had turned. Now, Xianjia had to report his work to Iku. Iku reused the method that he had used on her in the past, telling him to use yellow sticky notes to mark the documents that needed to be signed urgently and put them on her desk. Xianjia didn't dare to object and could only do as he was told. Iku's birthday arrived. The employees all sent her birthday wishes. Because Shi had to go on a business trip to Guangzhou unexpectedly, he couldn't organize a birthday party for her. Iran was pregnant. Chunyi took very good care of her, preparing a lot of things even when going for prenatal checkups, afraid that Iran would get cold or tired. Ika didn't want to celebrate her birthday alone, so she contacted Iran and her brother. Unexpectedly, they were both busy. One was busy going to a prenatal checkup, and the other was busy live streaming with his girlfriend. Ika planned to go home to eat dinner, so she contacted her parents. To her surprise, the two of them were preparing to go on a tour. Ika also didn't want to mess up their travel plans, so she quickly hung up. In reality, it was all arranged by Shi. He planned to give Ika a surprise. As usual, Ika went to the convenience store to eat instant noodles. While she was eating, she received a phone call from Shi. Like before, she lied, saying that she was eating Japanese food, not knowing that Shi was seeing everything. Shi had completed his work ahead of schedule and returned to celebrate Iku's birthday, which surprised and delighted her. Shi took out the birthday cake that he had prepared. He quietly kissed Iku while she was making a wish. Afterwards, Iku found out that everything that had happened today was arranged by Shi. Her friends and family not being able to celebrate her birthday with her was to give her time to be alone with Shi. The two smiled happily. It was as if the whole world wanted to celebrate for them. The film ended here. Don't forget to like and subscribe to not miss out on more amazing videos. For now, goodbye and until next time.